All right, so you want to do a deep dive on Mark Zuckerberg, huh?
Sounds like it.
Well, you've definitely given us a ton to work with.
Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating story.
It's kind of wild, right? Like, we're talking about someone who built something that, like, billions of people use every single day.
It's mind-blowing when you think about it.
Totally. So this biography we have here, it shows, like, from the very beginning how much Zuckerberg loved computers. Like, even as a kid.
Oh, absolutely.
12 years old, building this messaging system, ZuckNet. I mean, come on.
That's incredible, right?
And his family actually used it. His dad, like, had it running in his dental office, which I think is just the best detail.
That's amazing. And it shows you, even then, he wasn't just messing around, you know?
Totally. He was solving an actual problem, but with technology.
Exactly. I think that's actually a theme we see throughout his life.
Yeah.
That drive to solve problems, but always with technology at the forefront.
Right.
And it wasn't just ZuckNet. I mean, this guy taught himself how to code in like a bunch of different languages.
Oh, yeah. He was picking up programming languages like they were nothing.
And then on top of that, he goes and excels at some seriously prestigious schools. Like, the guy was a certified coding whiz kid. By the time he was in high school, he had already built this music player, Synapse Media Player.
Yeah.
And get this, Microsoft was interested.
Microsoft, what? Seriously? They wanted to buy something from him when he was in high school.
Yeah, I know, right?
That's insane. I mean, he could have just taken the money and retired right then and there, basically.
Right. Talk about a life-changing opportunity.
He was just like, nah, I've got bigger plans. Which is crazy when you think about it. Turning down Microsoft, even back then.
It turned down to like close to $1 million, right?
Yeah. It's mind-blowing. I mean, that tells you a lot about his ambition. He wasn't in it for a quick buck.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
He definitely had a much bigger vision for what technology could do, how it could connect people. It was way beyond what anyone else was imagining at the time. And so when he went to Harvard, it's no surprise that he kept building, created Course Match, which was pretty innovative for its time.
It was like the precursor to, well, everything.
Right. But then Course Match was kind of overshadowed by his next project, Face Mash.
Oh boy, Face Mash. The one that got him in hot water.
That's the one.
I mean, I get that he was a genius coder and all, but the whole ranking students' attractiveness thing? Come on. Like, what was he thinking?
Yeah, I don't think his ethical compass was quite as developed as his coding skills at that point.
Yeah, I think.
It was definitely controversial. I mean, it got him in a big trouble with Harvard. But looking back, you can kind of see it revealed something really crucial about him. He was willing to push boundaries, break the rules even, to see his vision through.
So you're saying, like, even back then, that willingness to, I don't know, disrupt things, that was a part of him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's something that would go on to define him for better or worse.
For better and for worse, that's a good way to put it, because it's like that early controversy. It's almost like a preview of all the stuff that would come later with Facebook, right? The debates about privacy, responsibility, all that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But before we get to all that, we have to talk about the Winklevoss twins.
Oh, here we go, the drama.
Right. They approached Zuckerberg to work on their social networking site, Harvard Connection.
Which was like Facebook, but just for Harvard students, right?
Exactly. And
Zuckerberg was like, nah, I'm thinking bigger.
he wasn't interested in limiting himself to just one university. He wanted to connect everyone.
So he walks away from Harvard Connection, turns down Microsoft's millions.
All because he has this gut feeling, this certainty that he can build something even bigger.
Talk about taking a risk. I mean, the guy was betting on himself big time.
And as we know, it was a gamble that paid off. He teams up with his roommates. They start Facebook in their dorm room.
And the rest, as they say, is history.
It spread through Harvard like wildfire,
Wow.
then to other colleges.
It was crazy. Like, suddenly everyone was talking about Facebook.
By the end of 2004, they had 1 million users.
Mm-hmm.
1 million. It was insane how fast it blew up.
I remember when it started spreading to different schools, it was like this exclusive club you wanted to be a part of.
That's a great way to put it. And that exclusivity, that was part of its appeal for sure.
But how did it go from a dorm room project to 1 million users so quickly?
Well, I think part of it was being in the right place at the right time, of course. But Zuckerberg also understood something crucial, something he called network effects.
Network effects. Remind me what that is again.
So basically, it means that the more people use something, the more valuable it becomes.
Right. Like if only 10 people use Facebook, it's not that interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with every new person who joins, who shares something, who connects with someone else, Facebook becomes more and more valuable for everyone else.
It's like this snowball effect.
Exactly. And Zuckerberg, he understood this early on. He used it brilliantly to grow Facebook.
And it wasn't just about getting users, right? He managed to get some pretty big names to invest early on, too, like Peter Thiel, Sean Parker. These are major players in the tech world. What made them believe in Zuckerberg's vision?
I mean, they saw his talent, obviously,
Right.
right from the start, but they also saw how much he believed in Facebook.
Yeah, like he really thought he could change the world with this thing.
Exactly. And that kind of passion,
Yeah.
that's infectious.
Sure.
Totally.
So Peter Thiel, he was a co-founder of PayPal, right?
That's right, yeah. He put in some crucial early funding.
Okay, so he had Thiel's support and then Sean Parker.
The Napster guy.
Yeah, exactly. He comes in with all this experience.
He really helped shape Facebook's whole strategy for growth. I mean, that's huge for a young company.
It's incredible to think about, Facebook, this global thing now.
Yeah.
It all started with like a handful of guys in a dorm room.
And those crucial early investors.
Totally. And they weren't the only ones who were interested. I mean, we were talking about Yahoo at MTV before, right?
Yeah, Zuckerberg had some pretty big offers on the table, even back then. Imagine being like 20 years old and having Yahoo knocking at your door.
Seriously. Or MTV. Like, come on.
Right? Offering you what must have seemed like all the money in the world.
I mean, I don't know what I would have done.
Most people would have taken the deal, right? Secured the bag, called it a day.
Totally. But not Zuckerberg.
He wasn't interested in selling out, not even for a ridiculous amount of money.
It's like he had this bigger plan in mind all along, right? Like he knew Facebook could be something truly massive.
He was playing the long game. He wasn't going to let anyone or anything get in the way of his vision.
It takes a certain kind of personality to say no to that kind of money, that kind of pressure.
For sure. But of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. I mean, we can't talk about Facebook without talking about the Winklevoss twins, right?
Oh, boy. Here we go.
That lawsuit was a whole thing. Public, messy, the works.
And they had a point, right? At least that's what they were claiming.
They definitely presented some compelling evidence, like those instant messages. Remember those?
Yeah, those are not great.
Not a good look for Zuckerberg. But again, he fought back hard. He didn't back down.
And that settlement, though. $65 million?
Yeah, that's not chump change.
It's kind of amazing, though. He had this huge success with Facebook, but there was always this drama following him around.
It's like a reminder that even the most successful people, they all face challenges, right?
Totally. And setbacks,
Yeah.
and apparently lawsuits.
It's how you respond to those challenges that really matters.
Yeah.
And in Zuckerberg's case, he came out swinging. He kept pushing Facebook forward.
So he's dealing with this lawsuit, and at the same time, he's trying to make Facebook better.
Yeah, he knew he had to stay ahead of the game. MySpace was huge back then.
Ugh, MySpace. So much going on.
Yeah, it was a lot. Zuckerberg wanted to make Facebook cleaner, more user-friendly. He wanted to focus on connecting people, not overwhelming them.
And that was a smart move, honestly. Facebook was just easier to use.
Way easier. And then came all the innovations that really changed the game. The news feed.
Oh, yeah, the news.
The like button. Timeline.
All those things we take for granted now, they were revolutionary back then.
They were. And Zuckerberg, he kept pushing, kept innovating.
He always seemed to be one step ahead. Every time you thought you knew Facebook, he'd change it up again.
He understood that to stay relevant, Facebook had to evolve.
And he wasn't afraid to take risks, right? Like acquiring Instagram, for example.
Oh, yeah, that was a big one. Nobody knew if that was going to pan out.
I remember thinking Instagram, it's just a little photo app.
Right. But Zuckerberg, he saw the potential.
He knew how powerful images could be. And video, too.
It was a game changer, bringing Instagram into the fold. Suddenly, Facebook was about more than just text updates. It was about sharing your life, your experiences visually.
And that just made it even more addictive, right? Like you could scroll through Facebook for hours.
For sure. And as Facebook's reach grew, so did Zuckerberg's wealth.
I mean, the guy became a billionaire at like, what, 23?
Something like that, yeah. It's insane.
It's the ultimate success story, right? College dropout creates this billion-dollar empire.
It's a real-life fairy tale. But, as with all fairy tales, there's a catch.
There always is.
Because with that kind of success, that kind of power...
comes great responsibility.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like in Zuckerberg's case, that responsibility was just amplified like a million times over, you know?
Because of how big Facebook got, right?
Exactly. I mean, billions of people using this thing he created. It's unprecedented, the kind of influence he had.
And then, of course, there's Cambridge Analytica.
Oh, man, that was a whole other level.
That's when things got really real, I think. I mean, you have this third-party app just taking data from millions of Facebook users.
Without them knowing.
Exactly, and using it to target them with political ads.
During a presidential election, no less.
It was huge. Suddenly, everyone was talking about data privacy, about how Facebook could be used to manipulate people.
It influenced elections even. It really made you question everything. Yeah.
Totally. And Zuckerberg, he got called to testify in front of Congress.
Can you imagine?
I mean, that's intense. It really shows how seriously people were taking this whole thing.
It was a defining moment for him, for sure.
Mm.
And for Facebook.
And then there's the other side of Zuckerberg, right? The guy who wants to use his wealth to make the world a better place.
Right, with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative.
Yeah. Yeah, he and his wife, Priscilla Chan, they've pledged billions of dollars to all sorts of causes like education, healthcare.
Criminal justice reform, too.
It's kind of wild when you think about it. This tech CEO, who's often portrayed as, like, out of touch.
Right, like he lives in a bubble.
Exactly. But then he's out there trying to solve some of the world's biggest problems.
It makes you wonder, what drives a guy like that?
Seriously, where does Zuckerberg go from here? I mean, he's already achieved more than most people ever dream of.
And he's still so young.
That's true. He has plenty of time to figure it out, I guess. But what do you think? What's next for Zuckerberg?
It's hard to say, honestly. I mean, he seems really set on making Facebook, or Meta, I guess we should say.
Right, Meta.
He wants it to be seen as a force for good, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's trying to shift the narrative.
But can he actually do it? That's the question, right?
That's the billion-dollar question. Only time will tell, I guess.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, Mark Zuckerberg's story is far from over.
Not even close.
He's still figuring it out, just like the rest of us. And honestly, I don't know about you, but I can't wait to see what he does next. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. This whole deep dive, it really makes you think about the power of technology, you know?
Totally. And about the responsibility that comes with it.
Because it's not just about Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
Right? It's about all of us. The choices we make online, how we use these platforms.
The impact we have on each other, even if we don't realize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's safe to say we all have a part to play in this story. What happens next is up to all of us.
That's a great point to end on. So to everyone listening, keep that in mind as you navigate the ever-changing world of tech, of social media, of connection itself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. And until next time, stay curious.